The little-known youthful aspirants who have clinched party tickets that will see them vie in the August 9th polls. And as Raquel Mugai reports, the aspirants have defeated incumbents, political gurus and notable names that few expected to lose.
An often used political phrase in Kenya has it that the reality on ground is different, to mean that what is stated at national level may not always reflect what happens at the grassroots level. And so it was in various parts of the country after locals cast their votes in favour of youthful aspirants over well-known politicians. Among those who benefited from this is Elgeyo Marakwet Deputy Governor Wesley Kipyegon Rotich, garnering 42,258 votes against Joseph Boynet's 32,503 to secure the UDA ticket to vie for the Elgeyo Marakwet gubernatorial seat come August 9th.
Nilikuwa nataka nikuwe mfano bora kwa vijana ambao wanataka uongozi. Na ningependa kusema ni kazi ngumu sana kwa sababu kuamka ama kusimama kiti kama ya governor inahitaji fedha nyingi mno, na nataka kushukuru Mungu kwa sababu mimi niliuza sera, sikuuza fedha, sikusema nina fedha, mimi nilisema tu mimi nataka kuwafanyia kazi.
According to Wesley, being a young politician brings with it many challenges, especially on matters finances.
Lazima uwe na fedha ili ukubalika hata ukaribie chama. Lakini sisi hapa kwa UDA hata uwe fukara ama uwe hauna chochote, bora unaweza ukaongea na wananchi wakukubali.
For those that voted him in, his age and political prowess was not a factor.
Yeye ni kijana mdogo na kijana ana asol na ni mtu mwaminifu, na tangu sisi tukiwa members ya Transfer Sacco amekuwa akitusaidia.
Ukiona kati ya wale wote ni yule ambaye unaweza kuona ya kwamba alienda peke yake kibinafsi, went alone kuomba kura yake, akutumia cartels, na tunaamini ya kwamba hata akiingia kwa ofisi atasaidia watu wetu vizuri sana.
In Nandi County, 29-year-old Cynthia Muge, a current member of County Assembly, also pulled a surprise after winning the woman representative UDA party ticket in the just concluded party nominations.
Wameona kitu nzuri ndani yangu na kaweza kunipatia kura. Na vile usema, especially ama sana the English person says hard work pays. Hii ni kazi ambayo tumengangana sana kama kwa ugombeaji ama watu ambao wanaomba kura. Tumeweza kwenda pale ground, vile watu wanapenda kuiita, tukaomba kura na tukawasihi kwa njia ya unyenyekevu ili waweze kutupatia nafasi ya kukuwa viongozi wao katika kupitia kwa kura.
According to Cynthia, the beauty of politics in the country is that your agenda will endear you to the local people compared to what you have or own.
Uwe mdogo, uwe mkubwa, kila mtu ako na nafasi. Bora ujitose pale ulingoni na uweze kutoa and put your best ili uweze kuomba kura na vitu kama hizo, kuuza sera zako kwa wananchi. Pia nao ni watu wa kusikiza na ni watu ambao wanaweza ona kile kizuri ambacho uko nacho.
Tulitaka raundi hii iwe kwa vijana, iwe kwa watu wenye watu wenye wanaweza kutupea akili yenye iko sawa na watusaidie, kwa sababu tumeona kwa matajiri saa hii wanabambana maisha ya pesa zao. Hatutaki pesa, tunaona maendeleo yenye mtu ako naye.
So was the case for 28-year-old lawyer Jen Jerry, who clinched the woman representative UDA party ticket in Kirinyaga County. A newcomer in the political field who trounced pioneer Kirinyaga County Assembly Speaker Ann Githinji.
I can say because I'm a young person, I've had a bit of financial challenges, but I have been reaching out to friends and corporates who have invested in my campaign because they believe in the vision of the youth leading Kenya.
For the aspirants, the August 9th polls will be a confirmation of the fact that the youth can indeed be political leaders. Raquel Mugai, Citizen TV.
And congratulations to all of them. Of course, later on we'll be listening to one nominee for the seat of woman representative, I believe in, is it Bomet County, by the name Toto. We'll be sure to listen to her. But let's begin with you here, Jeremiah, because we see you on TV, and congratulations, first of all. But what was this like for you? Because I remember a few months ago when I spoke to you on a different show, you were telling me about you had wanted to be Speaker of the County Assembly of Kirinyaga. Then that didn't work, but you still hoped that something would work out. Then you decided to run for politics. What has this been for you?
Thank you, Sam.
it has been a very tough journey, and I have learned lessons through the way. When I last vied in 2017 for County Assembly Speaker, I think I picked on the lessons that have helped me in this race, because there is nothing important like your competitors undermining your capacity, or rather your capability to win the nominations. So I think the advantage for me was that the ground is very, very receptive of young leaders, and they're very supportive, and beyond our politics being all about money and people being interested in handouts, the electorate is now capable of actually, taking the handouts from the politician that is handing the money and voting in for the leader that they believe is going to propel them to the next level. The people of Kirinyaga County honored me by voting me in, and it was not an easy journey because politics involves money. Even the mayor bit of it, like just moving around and the logistics, we had to have in agents. So I think for me as a young person, what I worked with was strategy. I capitalized on the fact that as a young person, I'm able to maximize on social media and reach out to the young electorate that is the one that wants change and feels that they need to see new leaders.
You're below 30. How did you convince, including the older persons, to vote for you in a county that, even in the last election, they voted for Purity Ngirishi, not exactly your age mate? How did you do that?
The electorate is very receptive because they viewed me as their daughter. So I was speaking to them as their daughter and as their child. So I think when you find a way to reach to the electorate, it becomes easier and the ground is leveled for you, because I could not compete in terms of finances if you compare me to my competitors. But the electorate has a way. There's a way to speak to them. So I think it's just about the packaging and the way I reached out to them and the ideas I was selling to them and the narrative that I was pushing.
And you said that politics costs money, obviously, yeah. How did you mobilize these resources?
I mobilized my resources through close friends and family members, and I reached out to a few corporates to chip in.
I want your friends, man. Edith, for you, a few days, is it on the eve of the nominations, you said that you're getting out, or you're opting out of the UDA nominations for the woman rep seat in UDA. Why did you make this decision?
Well, let me first congratulate Jerry for the success.
Thank you.
And let me say, our party, in most regions, it has managed to have quite a number of young people win the elections. But now, there's a challenge of regional outfits. Some regions are fair to candidates, especially the young people and women, and some are not. In my case, like 3 days earlier, one of the party leaders in our region had a preferred candidate.
Who's that?
The governor aspirant. There's a video that was moving around. I don't want to delve on that. They declared that they're in support of one of my opponents. I felt it's not even worth my time to get into the nomination process because there's a predetermined outcome. And these are the people that are going to select the clerks, the presiding officers. So as a young person, I felt offended because I had saved my money, I had raised money from friends to secure a nomination ticket. That's one of the things. I highlighted 3 points that I needed to be addressed before the nomination day, but they were not addressed, and they actually went ahead and did the nomination. Funny enough, the remaining 2 candidates came to a consensus by midday, and they agreed on supporting one of them. So what happened, most of the POs... So there was
no election for that position, for that ticket?
There wasn't proper communication because most of the presiding officers and clerks went on with the nomination process. And I could get calls during the day that, you're doing very well. Why did you pull out? I was still in the ballot paper. It was too late for them. It was too late for me. I had to pull out because I didn't trust the process to start with.
Okay, so how serious is it? Because you're talking about Senator Mithika Linturi, and how serious is it for him to raise his voice and express his political opinion? How does it hurt your chances if the structures of UDA had come out and say, we're promising you free and fair process?
Let me say that's not a major concern, but politically, it matters. A party leader in a region trying to tell people that let's give this lady a chance because she's been here for a long time. Let's, political statements are strong, but that wasn't the issue. The choice, the selection of presiding officers in Meru, it's clear it was not done fairly. And I have evidence. I have friends who say that they were called and given instructions. This is what you're going to do on the election day. Mm-hmm. How would you participate in such a sham election?
What were they to do?
There were instructions. I have photos of people having ballot papers in their houses at night. I have a photo of that I can share. At night, on the eve of elections.
They were taking? They
were given those ballot papers to stay with them in the house. What can be done in such a situation? So I opted to pull out because it was predetermined.
Mm-hmm. Did you raise this with the party structures?
I did. A day before the nominations, I did a press briefing and I requested to be addressed on how the selection of clerks and presiding officers was done. Mm-hmm. I had other points of, I questioned why, if they had a preferred candidate, because there was argument that this lady has served, has been in the party for long. If that was known, why would they let a young person like me struggle to pay nomination fee when they knew there was a predetermined candidate, which I felt it's not fair at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Wakili Dunstan, these are challenges that they are talking about. For her, it's on the side of resources, experience. You're new, so you approach your constituents like their child. For her, you can hear what challenges she's enlisting here. But how real are they? And especially the political parties, do they have that capacity to address some of these very specific concerns?
Well, I do sympathize with my friend here, Mheshimiwa in the making, of what she alleges that happened. The parties are in a serious quandary situation. Remember, we had parties that were existing without any law. Mm-hmm. The new law that came into place, the Political Parties Act, mm-hmm. it is now that is being tested. The structures of the parties have not developed to the level that we can say mm-hmm. they are now democratic and they have mechanisms to deal with such issues. But also, we are alive to the fact that not very many politicians will admit defeat. They would always say, we had this, and that is why we felt mm-hmm. we pulled out. The final decider is the voter. The Constitution of Kenya 2010 allows independent candidates to stand and contest in the ballot. So my good sister has opted to move to that line of independent candidates. Mm-hmm. But when we look at the performance of the political parties, generally, we will say that there is some semblance of order being put in place, although there are teething problems, mm-hmm. both in Azimio and both in the Kenya Kwanza formations. What I cannot be very sure is that, for example, the whole of Friday, one of my advocates, my associate Shadrach Wamboi, has been at the UDA political parties board mm-hmm. for dispute resolution. They were there on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. They were being heard. The case was being heard yesterday at 10:30 p.m. So really, I don't want to say what has been happening, but are these political structures meant for justice and for democracy, or they are political structures to sanitize and fumigate the wrong processes that the parties have done? Mm-hmm. That will be a discussion for 2027. But for now, let us agree that the parties, as Mutuma puts it, the Political Parties Act came into place February. We have still a lot of issues on what that party really means. Mm-hmm. Mr. Mutuma, myself, and other lawyers are in court challenging several sections of that Political Parties Act, and quite a number. For example, this week and next week, a lot of judgments from the High Court are going to come, either confirming those sections unconstitutional or putting those sections that they are constitutional. So we are likely to see a complete overhaul mm-hmm. on the political party nominations in 2027. 27. For now, it is unfortunate that this has happened, but I want to congratulate Mheshimiwa. She has done tremendously well, and encourage my colleague here, my good friend, that politics is a game of going in and fighting, removing each other's heads, but without killing each other for you to get position.
You mean metaphorically?
That's what I'm saying. She put up a strong fight. I have worked in Kirinyaga and I know how serious it is. And let us all agree that we move away from this point of entitlement to the point of fighting it out. If those guys have papers at night, I'm not encouraging that if you are a contender, you also get those papers at night. But I'm saying be vigilant and be vigilant, because we are developing political party democracy, which was never there.
And there's a voice I want us to listen to. It's the success of the lady whose other name is Toto, better known by that name, as soon as it's ready, so that we can hear what her experience was in Bomet. Listen.
She is hardly visible amidst her supporters. In Bomet, she is known as Toto, loosely translated as the little one.
All right, we'll get to the clips shortly from now. But Wakili, you want to say something before I get to Wakili? Yes.
Add on to what my good friend Edith Miregi has said, and what my senior has said. It is very important to note that politics is all about fighting. There was a candidate, a competitor of mine, who was going around claiming that she had the certificate and she was the party's favorite, and she had the blessings of the county, top county leadership, to wield the certificate for woman representative. And it went on up to the last day when we went for nominations in Kirinyaga County. And I thought about the information and processed it, but figured out that I wanted to go into the race and fight out, and believe that even though there were all those factors, for example, I wasn't involved in the appointment of the arrows and the POs. It was a process that I did not even have the structure, or rather we call them connections, right? We call them connections on the streets. The connections to be able to know who was picked by who, or who was picking who. But I went in and put up a fight, and you can see the results of it. So I think sometimes we need to take a leap of faith and demand, because we say power is taken, it is not given.
Okay, let's now listen to Tom and her experience.
So, I was called since my childhood. The reason being, I asked my mother and she told me when I was born immediately I was looked too young, and that was where the name Toto generated from.
Amejaribu kuacha hiyo China. Amejaribu siku mingi kuacha, lakini ilikatalia tu, kwa sababu siku ingine alasema sitaki mtu anite Chepkoro, saa ukiita Linet hawezi itika. Tulipea tangu totoni mwake, si alijipandisha juu ya siasa, hapana.
The first time when I told them that I want to fight, I remember I started by telling my father. He took it positively, because from the past experience, they know how I've been behaving at home. I've been a leader in school, in church. But my mother, she was like, oh, I'm too young. You could have looked for a job. What will you use to finance your campaigns? But going forward, they realized I was very serious, and they supported me. I come from Bomet County, Bomet East Sub-County, Merigewat, Kapsimbiri Sub-Location, Chemamul Village.
Quite a totally different feel in politics. Lina Chepkorir is the woman representative candidate for UDA in Bomet County. Advocate Elias Mutumai, I almost called you Mheshimiwa. Maybe someday you will be. But what has been your experience, of course, observing the conduct of these party primaries, and in specific the results that they are bringing out?
Thank you, Sam. First of all, let me congratulate Toto and my learned friend here for winning the nominations. And I think that's proof that people are yearning for young leadership. That's also proof that we have a lot of potential out there that is unexploited. And unless we give them an opportunity, then we'll not be able to know that we have leaders out there. I come from Meru County, where Edith comes from. And I think even in that part of the country, people are still yearning for good and young leadership. I feel that Edith may be pulled out too early. You never know this kind of support you had. If you had gone through it, maybe things would have been different. And I'm saying this because there were some opinion polls conducted even in Meru and other parts of the country that showed certain candidates were leading, only for them to be surprised when they went for nomination because the ground is quite different. So, but I think that UDA has performed well in terms of daring to go through this process, even with a reputational stake, because it is not easy for them to have done this and still remained intact. Of course, it was expected that fallouts would be there, but then I think that we should be able to give them credit for at least even giving us that, telling us that they have mechanisms to resolve these disputes, because party primaries are about party affairs, and UDA has done very well in terms of even establishing, internal mechanisms to deal with those disputes. I was watching news yesterday, and I've seen they have so far, within a period of less than 48 hours, been able to handle almost 100 disputes and delivered judgments, some nullifying those elections, others upholding. So you can tell where the internal dispute mechanism nullifies a nomination exercise, it means then there was no blessing from the top for them to do certain acts. That's why I'm persuaded to think that maybe those structures are working. We just need to give them time.
And one of those resolutions is the Naivasha contest, where Jane Kihara was declared winner after a recount brought back 9,904 votes in her favor against John Kihagi's 9,903. A difference of 1 vote. I don't know what challenges that may bring, especially at the next level of the political parties' disputes tribunal.
Like Omari said, politics is a game of numbers, and there is no trophy for number 2. So if you win by just 1 vote, that brings about the whole difference.
Right.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Edith, tell me about, because now you're transitioning to an independent candidate, so you now sever all ties with UDA. I don't know whether you're benefiting from the network of the party. How are you planning to now deal with the next phase of challenges?
Thank you, Sam. I know the next phase is full of challenges, but the fact that I know that I have a constituency of people that support me in Meru is enough to propel me. Independent candidature is hard. It is definitely, it's very hard. But like she said, like Njeri said, the ground is so ready for youth leadership, not just because we're young, but we come with the experience from previous leadership. The ground, even the older the generation, our parents, our peers, they are embracing our leadership. And that doesn't mean that we have an easy way out as independent candidates. We have to work our way up. One of the challenges I expect ahead is that I need to seek alignment. Of course, you have to, in as much as you're called an independent candidate, you need to play allegiance to a presidential candidate, which is not my major concern right now. I want to work on my candidature. I talked to the people of Meru, they support me. I had a lot of support even during the nomination process, in as much as it didn't go through. My concern is really to look at my candidature as a person, not on what I'll affiliate myself with. Yes. Secondly, let me correct, I didn't go through the nomination process because the process, unlike other regions, I wasn't convinced that the process was going to be fair. And I highlighted 3 points before the nomination date, material day, which was not addressed. In as much as in the same party, the experience was totally different for different people in various regions. That's why even in Meru County right now, we're going to have repeat process for nominated MCAs because the process was not credible enough. And I don't understand why they didn't allow us to have a repeat for the woman representative position. That's why I pulled out, because I was told it's going to be for nominated MCAs only. So it's not me who left the party left me. Let me say that.
Right.
Yes.
That's an interesting way to look at it. I'll get back to you, Dunstan. But Njeri, for you now, many are saying that once you bag the UDA ticket in some parts, especially the strongholds, then you're one step into the House. Is that the case for you? And what are the next steps looking like as you compete against your other candidates?
I think what I can say is I would never count my chicks before they hatch. And Kirinyaga is a very unique county. We've seen it has been the battleground between the government and the UDA party, or rather its leadership in Kirinyaga County. So I believe that the party gives me a fighting chance. It gives me a better fighting chance than maybe perhaps any other party in Kirinyaga County, because UDA is the most popular party in Kirinyaga County. However, I do not underestimate my competitor and the fact that they will be backed by government machinery come 9th August 2022. And we all know that that allows them the capacity to manipulate the elections and to be able to perhaps manipulate the results that we will be getting. So I do not undermine that fact.
What do you mean,
it is a factor.
Manipulate the election?
Come on, Sam, this is Kenya. We all know that there has been issues as far as the integrity of the general elections are concerned. And I will be going against the candidate who will be supported fully by the government. And that means that the government machinery will be backing them. And I will be fighting with the people on the ground.
Because IBC, Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission, will be conducting that election, you actually think there will be interference with that process?
Do I think our institutions are fully independent? No.
No, let's be specific to IBC. You think there will be manipulation from the government?
I believe that there is high chances of likelihood of manipulation from the government.
What avenues? What are the weak places have you seen?
The weak links are the fact that I remember in the last elections, there was an issue about the register and the BVR kits. And I remember the other side, which was led by the former Premier, Raila Odinga, went to court demanding that the servers be opened. And we still have those issues lingering, and the decisions that were made by the court did not deal with some of those issues. But what I can trust in is that we have a very solid judiciary. And if anything happens and those elections are interfered with, I believe that our judiciary will be able to handle that.
You know, this is an important matter that you raise. And you see, as you speak to your supporters, you're also speaking to Kenyans, that last time there was a problem with the register and BVR kits. Which BVR kits? Because I thought BVR kits are just used for registration. So what was the problem? If you meant KIMS kits, what was the main challenge?
Oh, yeah, I meant that. The challenge was whether what is, perhaps when you log in, right? Because that is technology at the end of the day. And then you actually vote physically, which is not technology. So the data, does it tally? Does what is voted translate to the number of people that logged in? And we've seen there's been accusations that sometimes even dead people vote because they were registered.
Fine. Allegations, yes. But is this a practical experience you faced yourself? That you're telling Kenyans you should be afraid this may happen again?
No, I am saying that I am afraid as a young candidate and as a person who is vying under UDA party against a government candidate.
Wow, interesting. Dunstan Omari, what do you say to that, especially because IBC is still working towards preparing for that election? There's been that contest about the independence of the commission. Remember, there was a certain technical working group bringing together all various state agencies, but that appears to have, should I say, kunyo maji. So what do you make of this suspicion, and what really Kenyans should be looking out for?
For one to be elected and for one to win, 30% will be a clear, straightforward message to the voters. 70% will be propaganda and distortions of facts, raising fear, raising a lot of unnecessary problems with anticipation that to keep the opponents at bay. We have seen the UDA part of the political divide raising issues on the credibility of the elections that is coming in. But yet, they are still participating. They are still complying with the IEBC regulations. That is part of the game. There's nothing new. You saw at one time, Raila used to be on that sitting bench, and that was the narrative. Today, UDA is the one writing letters and complaining about the independence of the IEBC. So really, this is part of electioneering. It should not be a reason Kenyans you should worry. The elections will be fair. The elections will be done properly. Those ones who will have a challenge or who will feel that they have been rigged out, the courts are there, from the lower court to the Supreme Court. Me and Mutuma, we have already taken leave to relax, to wait for those petitions. Let Kenyans know very well that these stories about elections being rigged, elections not being fair, it is aimed at galvanizing the constituency. I do a lot of political consultation. She's galvanizing our constituents that wake up. You know, if I don't have a margin of more than 100,000 votes, there is a possibility of rigging. So really, these ones are okay. That is part of the tricks of politics. We don't blame anybody. But all that we are saying, I pray that the institutions mandated to conduct elections in this country stand firm, follow the law, do what it is. There will be those who will not be satisfied that they lost. Yesterday, I was in Kisumu, and I happened to pass a place where one of the Azimio candidates was having a funeral fundraising around from Nyamira. I'm heading to Kisumu, and I could see the tension that was there in the Azimio rally where Raila was, and the argument was, now, no independent candidate. You either vote for Azimio 6-piece or what it is. Then I went to eat fish at a place called Dunga, and there was a massive campaigns of Ruth Odinga. There was another guy called Roni. There was another Outa. It was so heated. And I just listened to the campaigns. All those are campaigns. They end as campaigns. Kenyans should not worry about the talks from the politicians. Should remain firm and say that anybody with the credible information, the DCI, the IBC, and all institutions are awaiting for that information. Let them provide evidence that there is rigging being planned or there is rigging that has been done. So me, I strongly defend institutions. Let them do their job. And out of the 20 candidates, only one will be declared the winner. 29 will claim they were rigged out.
Wow, interesting. Interesting. Let's listen, because Wakili Mutuma, I want us to focus on what has become negotiations, consensus building. One MC Jesse, or Jasper, we saw him early last week with the Deputy President saying that he was shelving his ambition, or postponing it actually, in favor of another candidate within UDA. Then yesterday, listen.
And we are going very well with the party UDA, and everybody knows what went on there. But now my community has called upon me as a young person with a dream to lead this wonderful society. I heeded to their call, and they said, no, we don't want you to be told what to do. We have a dream. And we, in South Imenti, together with the community that raised me, we are going on an independent card to the ballot that is on the 9th of August 2022 for the Member of Parliament South Imenti. The Deputy President is a great friend of mine. With his permission today, and with the permission of the community here, that is why we are still continuing with the journey as an independent candidate.
All right, so very interesting there. And now he has gone back to the race. There has also been very many complaints within ODM saying that they were not involved in the consensus, including Dr. Pamela Odhiambo, who was aspiring to be the governor candidate for ODM in Migori County. She says that this has been taken away from her, including her saying that she died in support of Senator Ochilo Ayako, who is now killing her again. Those are not my words. I'm just saying what she said. But Elias Mutuma, what do you make of this consensus building? And has it been strict to the law? Has it been fair to the different races?
Thank you. Allow me first to address the issues raised by my sister here. Number one, I don't think her fears are unfounded. I think it's good for us to acknowledge that we have these challenges. We have these disputes that are real. But then I also want to believe that we have mechanisms to deal with such fears and such problems. I participated in the nullification of the presidential elections in 2017, where I represented Gladwell Alliance. I participated in the BBI case. I practiced at the PPDT level, and I have seen these institutions are actually more credible than we may want to give them credit for. So I want to encourage her to, record and document any malpractices and then approach it in the right way rather than selling fear to Kenyans. let us understand that we have these issues and there is a way of dealing with that. Back to boardroom deals. The law, the Elections Act and the Political Parties Act anticipates various ways of conducting nominations or coming up with a candidate from a particular political party. So boardroom arrangements and deals is one of them. So there is nothing wrong with a political party, calling its supporters and telling them, we think that if we go for nomination, we are likely to experience, acrimony and fallouts. So let us agree on a way of getting one of you fly the party ticket. But I think it's unfair where candidates are not given, a fair platform for them to argue out their case and to show the party leadership why it is me as opposed to the other candidate who is supposed to be picked. Secondly, I think the scientific opinion polls have been misleading to some extent, and I'm saying that because I saw them, especially from Meru, where I come from, where some opinion polls purported some candidates were ahead of others, only for them to be shocked when candidates insisted that we must go for nominations. And you'd find that the candidate who purportedly was ahead was not the preferred candidate when it comes to nominations. So I think boardroom deals are good, but then they should only be entertained, encouraged in very specific and clear instances. Yes.
And what is your thinking? Because you look at Section 38C, a registered member of a political party shall be entitled to participate in the nominations conducted by the political party, and a political party that intends to conduct political party nominations under this act shall use a certified register of members for the nominations. A political party that intends to conduct a political party nominations under this act shall apply in writing to the registrar for a certified copy of the register of members at least 21 days before the date of nominations, and of course those shall be issued. When you read this law and then look at what happened during the party primaries,
yes,
are these nominations legal?
That's why I started by saying that it was unfair for us to use the amended act to conduct the nominations, because number one, many people did not even understand clearly the provisions of this act. There was no proper, sensitization of what these amendments entail. I dare say even implementers of this act have a serious problem understanding its implication. So, and that's a recipe for disaster and chaos when it comes to nominations. So I do not want to say that nominations were not legal, but I want to say that the application of this law was not timely. It was not supposed to be, and we expect a judgment tomorrow from the three-judge bench, just dealing with this issue, because it is unfair to the process, it is unfair to the candidates, it's unfair to voters for you to create a law and then try to apply it retrospectively without minding whether people have really understood even the implication of that act or not.
That's interesting when you say that, because I'm just wondering, when they pass the Finance Act, what happens? Even if you don't understand, it's applied on it, isn't it?
It is, but the courts have a right to declare such laws unconstitutional.
You told me, yes, Advocate, that party primaries are political party affairs.
Yes.
I would imagine that political party members should participate in picking candidates for their political party.
Let me put it this way. It's a political party's affair, but then the candidates who present themselves to go through this process must have understood the rules of the game way in advance. They must understand the options they have should they opt to bolt out. But then when you have a law that is coming too late in the day, do you even know what your rights are? Do you know what your options are? It brings about confusion. That's why we're saying it would have been better if we amended this law last year, so that candidates have an opportunity to interrogate the law, seek advice from lawyers, so that they understand exactly what are my options. Because I'm sure, like my friend Edith, she should not quite understand actually what my options are. And it's unfair to her and many others. So
okay. I hear you. I'll get to the candidates here. Yes. But first, Dunstan, what is your reading of this law? Because specifically it says that certified register of party members shall participate in party primaries to pick Jerry or Edith here if she were to go through the political party nomination. So what happens?
The definition of nomination, we go back to section 2 and provide what is nomination. Nomination, by definition of that same act, defines 4 methods. 1, universal suffrage. That's what they wanted to do. People going to vote, queuing for them. 2, there is direct nomination. The party leader can sit in his bedroom and just say, Omari, you are the presidential candidate. That is lawful. 3, there is consensus. People are called on a table. There's no parameter to define whether you have agreed or not agreed. Then they say, we now have a consensus that Sam Gituku carries this ticket. Lastly, there is what we call the scientific method, that is about opinion polls. All these are 4 methods provided by law. The question that I'm raising is 1. All these people are in UDA. Have they, or ODM, have they ever read the constitution of ODM? Have they ever read the constitution of UDA? That is the document that is being used for their political party's nomination, not the Kenyan law. It is a political party's constitution that provides for that. Many of the politicians just went there and they have never seen that act. Today, they are being told, look at that act. Does it give us the power to nominate somebody directly? Yes. Whether you go to court, you will not gain. Remember, Sam, we are dealing with the 205 constitutional moment when people were saying, we don't need to read the constitution. Raila Odinga, Kibaki have read for us. So today, we are in a situation where politicians are saying, William Ruto has read the UDA constitution, Raila Odinga has read the Azimio constitution, President Uhuru Kenyatta has read the Jubilee constitution. And I'm urging Kenyans who are watching today, read the document before you put your signature as a member of that party. Whether you fight, the party will still win, because those were the rules you signed for, that you subscribe yourself to that nomination process. So what Mutuma has said is true. The reading culture in this country, especially for the politician, is very poor. That is why even when we elect them to go to parliament, they don't read the budget. Then they come outside and say, no, 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 as we didn't agree with this, but it is them who passed that budget and it binds them. So in my own small wisdom is that a bed that you have chosen, you can never run away from it. The only option available, which is very bad music for them, is that they must now read the party constitution for 2027 so that they know which party. For example, very many are saying they are rushing to the independent candidates. Do they know that they need to have, for the members of parliament, 1,000 photocopies of IDs? Very few know that. Do they know that they have got to present, if they are governors, 48,000 photocopies of IDs? They don't know that. So we are living in a political group that rarely reads
photocopies of IDs or signatures?
Signatures and IDs. Today we file a petition, on Friday, on Thursday we file a petition to declare that submission of photocopies of IDs for independent candidates unconstitutional. The matter is coming up today. So that is what we are telling Kenyans: read the law, read the regulations.
Wait a minute. The law specifically talks about a copy of an ID, not
yes,
an ID
yes. 1,000 photocopies of signatures, hard copy, should be presented by independent candidates.
Please refer me to that section of the law so that I can also have a look at it.
It is a petition. I'll send you the whole petition.
Okay,
here.
okay.
It is coming before Justice Murima today.
So
this is what you are saying.
Just hold on, Wakili. You said universal suffrage is one of the modes of nomination.
Yes.
So what, in your understanding, is universal suffrage, if you had to read it against the Political Parties Act, Section 38C, that talks about party register that is certified by the registrar?
Universal suffrage means one vote, one person, one member who belongs to that party. That is what universal suffrage is, like the way we are going to do on 9th of August 2022. That is universal suffrage.
And so, because there's evidence that there are people who are not members of these political parties that participated in these nominations, what happens?
That was a question before the High Court, whether the timelines could allow that. And the High Court said that cannot be met. People will vote. It will be a ground. It will be a ground for the political parties. The question is the registrar of political parties having that register?
Yeah.
Let me chip in there, Sam, a bit. When you look at this act, it says that political parties were supposed to have submitted their list of members by 26th of March.
Yes.
All right? After submission, the registrar of political party is supposed to create a register of each political party, a certified one. Now, the question is, did she do that?
The information is that it was done.
It was done.
Yes.
Was it availed to voters for them to confirm that the people who are actually in
who was to do that? The registrar or the political party?
It is the registrar, because remember the party, the act has now shifted the responsibility from parties to the registrar of political parties, who becomes the custodian of this register. So it was upon or incumbent upon the registrar of political parties to ensure that it is the certified copy of the register that is being used for nominations by political parties.
But the same law, Section 38 SC, subsection 5, talks about a political party shall not allow any person who is not a registered member of the political party to participate in the party nominations. That's
correct,
not registrar.
Correct, but then who is the custodian of that?
It has been
register?
certified and released to the political party.
Was it done? That's the question.
The information I'm telling you is that, yes, it was done.
And remember, when you look at the Political Parties Act, the amended one, it gives the Register of Political Parties the mandate to supervise and regulate the manner in which parties conduct their nominations. So I dare say that that was a responsibility for the Register of Political Parties.
Okay. Yes. So, Njeri, I don't know that you're a beneficiary of members or voters who are not members of the party, but what is your take on this?
So I want to add on what my colleagues have said, because I'm also an advocate myself, and there was petition number 002 of 2022, which was filed at the Machakos High Court, and it was determined that the Registrar of Political Parties did not have the capacity or the timelines to harmonize the list and ensure that what they presented to the parties to be used as the party membership list, the certified one.
When was that judgment given?
By Justice Odunga, it was, I think, we can get it. That is actually what gave room for the mediocrity we are seeing in the parties. It is lawful.
You know, I'm asking that because there's a judgment that came on 4th of April, which is just early this month, by Justice Odunga, saying that, of course, the IPPMS can be used for the party primaries to cater for the minorities' interest, but it doesn't specifically say that parties should now use other registers but the certified one.
It is a blank check some. And if I was to add on to what my colleagues have said, it is clear as day that the registrar of political parties did not have even the capacity and the timelines to ensure that they provided lists which were certified to parties so that they could conduct their primaries.
Okay,
I see that there was a deadline for party membership, and there's also a deadline for people to be members of a party so that they would vie for those nominated positions. And the IPPMS, the register that was being proposed to be used, it was preposterous to push to use such a list when there was no civic education to the electorate. And we have all these issues about changing from one party to another, issues of internet, accessibility to the internet. We all know that for one to register as a member and to be directly added onto the list by the registrar of political parties, you had to create an e-citizen account. Majority of Kenyans did not have the capacity to do that. And the timelines were very short, so it's ridiculous that they would expect parties to use the certified registers.
Very interesting. I think what I'll do, I'll just reach out to Secretary Generals of these political parties to confirm if indeed they received the certified registers. But Edith Muregi, what is your contribution on this? And as you were going to the nominations just before you opted out, were you certain about the register that was going to be used?
First of all, Sam, let me say that there's a lot of ignorance among the electorates. A lot of civic education needs to be done. Because after I left the party, there was propaganda that I've moved to another Azimio-affiliated political party.
Have you?
That's clear that the electorates, actually, we are all ignorant that you can't hop from one party to another past March 26th. So people can easily buy this propaganda. When it's clear that you can't hop to the next party, the only option that someone has is to become an independent candidate. Secondly, I'm not worried because in our country, the various regions have different voting patterns. For example, in Nandi and in Rift Valley, there's a pattern of electorates believing in young candidates, young people. You've seen even in the previous elections. In Meru, people don't vote six-piece. They vote individuals. Even the previously elected leaders, we have people from different races. We have young people, we have independent candidates. Our current woman rep is independent. So I'm not worried about the party outfit. I believe if I talk to the people of Meru, they're going to give me a chance. Secondly, we have a long way to go, especially in political party democracy. You can't say a political party will be democratic, it will be democratic fully when it's just an outfit during election period. We need to have a political party amendment whereby a political party should not let someone subscribe for nomination if they have a preferred candidate. Like Wakili said, a party leader has a right to select, to appoint in his bed a candidate. I don't conflict to that, but I think it's unfair to let other people subscribe to the party when you have a preferred person. So it should be made clear when people are subscribing to a party.
I'm actually not sure that that is legal, Wakili, because I mean these political parties are supposed to be public entities, because after this election, then they'll be financed by the exchequer through the political parties fund. How then can the party leader just decide how to skew nominations?
Have a chance to have more than 20 constitutions of different political parties, and all of them are a duplicate. The mode of nomination 4. All of them. And that's why I said people never read. And if ignorance of the law has never been a defense on any question that I didn't know. So what we are saying is that we need civic education. The parties must be put now, IBC is listening, it must agree with the political parties that their parties' constitutions must be circulated at least 6 months before the party nomination, so that people know exactly what it is. Sam, are you aware today as we are talking, none of the political parties has presented a party manifesto? None. Yet people are saying this, they are saying this, they are saying this. What does the law say? The party manifesto was supposed to have been in place before people. That is a selling point for Kenyans to join. But as I've said, lastly, that ignorance of the law has no defense. For example, Sam, you asked regulations of the regulations that provide that independent candidates must provide 1,000 for MPs, 1,000 photocopies of the IDs, is the IBC regulations number 24 sabbatical regulation 2, C 28 2, 32C, 36 2C, and the election general regulations. They require. That is what Kenyans are hearing today. I've seen my good friend Jesse say he's moving to the independent candidates. I hope he has talked to Mutuma to tell him that these are the conditions, President, before you join as an independent candidate. So really, we are living in a country where lawyers are not consulted, or the political aspirants do not bother with the law. And you ask those who passed these regulations in Parliament, they'll tell you, me, I never saw that. Then you say, now, if you never saw it, the president also never saw it. He assented, and that is the law of this country. And for example, Mutuma, there is also a hot issue you raised. When is the date for nominating the running mate? The regulations provide for 28th of April. It will not change. The IBC has told them any arguments of justification that I have not been a member, have not been a candidate, how do I nominate? 28th of April, all nominations, the list will go to the IBC. On 2nd, every independent candidate must have moved away from party list to be an independent candidate. These are timelines. Unless the courts interfere with them, we are likely to have the running mate in the next 8 days from both sides.
Very interesting. Two advocates of the High Court cannot agree on the same law. But there's a question I had asked you that you didn't answer. As you're going to the nominations, were you aware of what register was going to be used? Because if you're talking about the party membership, then I think you would not be using so many resources to convince just a handful of members.
Some, as at on the eve of nominations, one of the things that I addressed in the press that I had is that we needed to have the register, because all along we were told that we were supposed to have the IEBC, to the 2017 register. And when I asked for that register, it was not available on the eve of nominations.
The IBC register?
The IBC register, that was the communication. But in one of the polling stations the next day, in actually my home polling station, my village polling station, they had the IBC register. So that was contradictory. Yes, so it wasn't clear what was going to be used. And we didn't have even the list on the eve.
And so, Mutuma, you said that the register of political parties, it is her responsibility to communicate what that register is. But again, I go back to the law that you're disputing, fine, that a political party shall ensure, this is section 38D, a political party shall ensure that the register of members used in party nominations is accessible to the registered members of the party. And she was a candidate up until the last minute.
Yes.
And she had not seen the register. So how do we correct this moving forward?
Sam, remember the law required that that register, or rather the list of members, was supposed to be submitted by 26th of March. Primaries were happening on, 14th, from 10th. That's barely 2 weeks from the date of submission. Do you honestly think that the register of political parties had the time to compile that register, to clean it, to have it inspected and availed for use during nominations? My answer is clearly it cannot be possible. So it wasn't possible for that register to be availed even to candidates to inspect and satisfy themselves that indeed this is the proper register that is supposed to be used. That's why, in my opinion, that act ought not to have been applied. The duty of maintaining a party membership register should be left to the parties, because there is always incoming and outgoing members, and the party should be able to, clean and update that register.
If you leave that responsibility to the party, then how do they speak to each other, the political parties themselves, so that you know that Jerry probably has moved from party A to party Z?
No, I think when there is then conflict, that is an issue that can be addressed at the political parties dispute tribunal. And even now, you cannot be sure that she's not a registered member of any other political party.
I mean,
we have seen people who claim to have been, registered in political parties without their knowledge. That's happening. But also to move to the issue that Omari raised, and that
no, not so fast.
Yes,
I've asked you that question of the responsibility of the party to inform the members, but more importantly, the aspirants, that this is the register we'll use at the nominations.
In my opinion, what ought to have happened is this: after submission of the list of members to the register of political parties, we ought to have been given time for the registrar to compile that list, certify it, then present it to political parties for publishing, so that members are able to access and confirm that indeed this is a proper register. Without doing that, there is no way political parties would have ensured that the list that is being used is a certified one.
But if her party, she's asking for, or her former party, she's asking for the register, it's not available.
Yes.
The following day at the primaries, at the polling station, there's a register.
Was it certified? That's a question.
I'm saying there was a register, certified or not.
Yes.
What is so difficult for a political party to tell Edith, this is the register we'll use tomorrow?
Well, I don't think it should have been that difficult, honestly. But I'm saying there is a serious problem when we want to do everything so close. Events happening almost at the same time. Remember, Sam, nominations ought not to have happened 2 weeks to the deadline, which is on 22nd. Why didn't we have these nominations in January, in December, so that people had time to inspect that register? Like, for example, she requested for the register 2 days to the nominations, isn't it?
Not really.
Well, yeah, like almost at the tail end. So was there time for even the party to avail that register?
No. The law talks about the responsibility of the party.
Yes. But my argument is, why should we have these nominations, so close to, to the deadline?
I hear you.
Yes.
It's interesting that...
And one more thing before I forget, Sam.
Yes.
One particular challenge that independent candidates are going to face is the regulation by IBC, that amongst the people who are supporting her should also not be members of any political party.
That is how it is.
The signatures.
The signatures should not be members of any political party. So that's an uphill task. I don't know how they are supposed to overcome that.
And they have to be constituents of her area?
Exactly.
Yes.
All right, I'll give you an opportunity. Let's first listen to Laura Chengotieno, who is in Kisumu County. They are going to the nominations for the ODM party. I understand that she's in Nyalenda. Good morning, Laura. What can you tell us about the primaries? We've seen so many chaos in some parts of Homa Bay and Migori. What should you expect in Kisumu?
Well, Sam, we expect a relatively calm process today in Kisumu because the instances of chaos that you mentioned, if you look keenly, you'll see that police were moving in swift action to combat those instances. Like we saw the arrest of 12 people in Migori yesterday with crude weapons. The security agencies operating in that place had mentioned that they were well on the ground to ensure that they combat such instances. And in Kisumu today, the exercise has just kicked off where we are right now. We are at Primaries Primary School, which is one of the gazetted polling stations that will be holding the ODM nominations today. And the voting exercise has just begun, literally just now. It was supposed to start at 6 a.m., but we understand that the now famous password had not reached this place. But the exercise has begun right now and across different places in the county as well. And we expect a showdown in 4 constituencies, that is Muhoroni constituency, Nyakach, Kisumu Central and Kisumu East, because Sam, this is an area that is perceived to enjoy a huge, the ODM party enjoys a huge support, and therefore it is almost a sure bet that anybody who clinches the ticket will have better chances of winning the August 9 polls. But that is not something you can take to the bank, because in 2017 we saw different trends where some independent candidates candidates and other affiliate parties that were part of the NASA coalition at that time, also making their way into different electoral positions. So, of course, it is not a win situation really for whoever clinches the ticket, but if you follow the sentiments that ODM leader Raila Odinga made yesterday in Homa Bay, where he was rallying for the people to vote for 6-piece, it is really a big deal for the different aspirants to clinch the ODM ticket. I remember the positions that will be in contest today are MCA positions across all the 40 wards, 4 parliamentary seats, the Senate seat, as well as the seat of the woman representative. As of the gubernatorial post, as of now, the Orange Party has not made official who its flag bearer will be, because the incumbent Governor Anyang' Nyong'o is seeking to fly the orange flag, as well as former CAS Ken Obura. But as of now, there's no formal communication from the party as of who its candidate will be. And right now, we are here looking at the different people who have shown up. The queue is pretty long, and therefore let me just speak to 1 or 2 people. Anza na jina, uniambie ulikuja hapa saa ngapi na saizi mnajihisi aje kuhusiana na process ya leo?
Mimi naitwa Job. Nimekuja hapa saa 11 asubuhi. Tukangoja kidogo, lakini tumefurahia kwa sasa wameanza shughuli hii. Tunafurahia sana.
Na asante sana. Unatarajia nini kwa anza na jina na uniambie unatarajia nini kwa nomination ya leo?
So my name is Victor Otieno. We came here early in the morning, but we are expecting that the election is going to be so good because now we are going digital. ODM has done a very good thing, very wonderful indeed. One of the parties that has gone digital. So this time around, there is no kicking of the debe. So we are going digital.
Thank you very much. Sam, there are a number of people. As you can see, there's an old woman here on the queue. Mama, acha niongee na wewe. Anza na jina uniambie ulikuja saa ngapi na mnatarajia nini kwa hii election ya leo?
Mimi kwa majina naitwa Christine Josephine. Tumeingia hapa around 6. But by the time tuliingia tulipata kama kulikuwa na problem ya password. But sasa now tunaona kama queue inaenda vizuri sana. Sasa kwa leo tunatarajia kuwa na matokeo mazuri, kusikuwa na any chaos kwa sababu hii ni Raila zone. Sasa kuchukua na any chaos yenye italeta picha mbaya kwa county. Asante sana.
Na asante sana. Now, Sam, as you have heard, we will be traversing different places in the county to see what the exercise will be like, whether there will be any sort of violence reported. But then the security agencies have expressed confidence that they are working round the clock to ensure that the exercise is largely peaceful, Sam.
All right, Laura, and you said something interesting about the governor said that a decision has not yet been arrived at. But are those people in the queue voting for who will be their candidate for the governorship?
Well, Sam, right now I had a chance to walk into the to look at the tablet that is people are using to vote, but there's no gubernatorial position really. The only positions that are up, because we are in Kisumu Central constituency, there's only the position of the MCA, position of the Member of Parliament for Kisumu Central, the position of the woman representative, as well as the senatorial position. I remember the Orange Party had indicated that it would be using different methods across different counties, and even right now there are 3 parliamentary seats that are not as well in the contest, but it is unclear what who the flag bearers will be in those particular positions, because there's no communication as of yet in terms of who has been handed the certificate. So right now the governor's contest is not really up for grabs, but of course we will be waiting for official communication from the party to know who will be the flag bearers in the governor's position, as well as the 3 parliamentary positions that are not in contest at this time, Sam.
And Laura, we saw that in Homa Bay it was a similar situation, sort of consensus building on who will be the flag bearer for the governor's seat. We saw in Migori it's a bit unnerving, especially for Dr. Pamela Odhiambo, who says that this process has been unfair. And now we hear that Kisumu County, there will be no voting for that position. How are the residents taking it, especially in Migori County and Kisumu?
Well, Sam, like I mentioned, it's a dicey affair because in as much as ODM enjoys a large following here in the entire Nyanza region, it is perceived that whoever clinches the ticket will have higher chances of getting into a certain electoral position. But then in the governor's position, of course, there have been sections of people who have been disgruntled, including Dr. Pamela. She's yet to make any official communication whether she'll be running as an independent candidate. But of course, that will be an interesting place to watch. I remember here in Kisumu County as well, Ken Obura has an alliance because they formed an alliance with incumbent Senator Fred Outa, as well as former Speaker Onyango Olo and former Governor Jack Ranguma, where they mentioned that should they not agree with the outcome of the ODM's position in whoever they'll be giving the ticket, then they'll be fielding another candidate to vie against Peter Anyang' Nyong'o. So, of course, it's a dicey situation. We'll see how the ODM party will be navigating that sort of minefield, so to say. But what is the common denominator amongst all these people, even as they're disgruntled, is that they're saying that the bigger prize is really on supporting Raila Odinga's presidential bid. But of course, we'll be waiting to see how the local politics play out, because, it's largely an affair that also the ODM party is looking to balance, because in regions like Kisumu, there are instances of clanism, so to speak. So it's very interesting to see who the different contenders will be picking as their running mates, because those are some of the issues that the party considers in terms of giving out its ticket to ensure some sort of regional balance in the local aspect within this Nyanza region, Sam.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Laura Otieno there, of course, reporting to us about the Kisumu nominations within the ODM party. And I'll be sure to link up with her later on today as that exercise progresses. Now I have 0 minutes. Allow me to spare it for the candidates here. Is it agreed? Wakili? Great. So, Edith, let me begin with you. What exactly do you want to do for Meru?
Thank you, Sam. I come with experience. I have leadership experience before. I've been a leader, though in a different platform, back in University of Nairobi for 3 years. I believe if people give me a chance as a young leader, I represent everyone. The woman representative represents the woman, the young person, the boy child, the disabled, the moms. So I call upon the people of Meru to keep on with the support, because I know they're with me. Doesn't matter the political party, the political outfits. And secondly, I wish that our country, we have political parties whereby they're not just outfits for the elections only. We have case study of South Africa and Tanzania where we have very stable political parties. Let's embrace that, because that's the only way we'll avoid such loopholes whereby women and youth are not included in such noble processes, and that's the only way we'll achieve the truth that gender role. Yeah.
And Wakili Njeri Maina, what exactly do you want to do for Kirinyaga that your two predecessors haven't so far?
Sam, I think you're putting me in a tight spot. I don't want to be caught up in a battle of clothes. But what I want and what I am bringing to the people of Kirinyaga is sustainable economic development for the youth, for women, and also for men, because we've seen that men feel left behind. But as a member of parliament, given that I will be the woman representative for Kirinyaga County, I will be able to ensure that we have the legislation in place that we need to ensure that interest of women are catered for, interest of youth are catered for, and interest of men are also catered for.
Okay, all right. I was looking for specifics, but maybe it's work in progress.
The time limitation.
Let's look at the feedback that we have so far. Charlo Wodrozi, you're saying that candidates who are vying for various political seats realize that taking photos with party leaders doesn't matter unless given direct ticket. What matters is having connection with the people on the ground. Bob Otieno, we know, young leaders emerging from UDA Kenya primaries is successful to the party and resonates well with their hustler slogan, more so the bottom-up model. Engineer Lazaro, nominations this time round is somehow revolutionary. That's why we are suspecting foul play in ODM primaries. It was tailored to favor incumbents. Kenyans are sick and tired of incompetent leaders who've been sailing through propaganda. Huza HSC, party primaries is like a class choosing a prefect. You can't blame the teacher unless you have evidence, no solid mechanism, and blame game, corruption dilute violence. I don't know what that means. No giant can't fail or can't fall. Okelo Mwalimu, as I congratulate and wish youthful party primary nominees are the best, all the best in 9th of August elections, I must urge them to remain steadfast in fighting for youth affairs. They must resist all overtures by big boys or girls of converting them into mouthpieces, hecklers, and tools of war. Okay, very important. King Jobaro. UDA nominations were not 100% successful, but we can take notes. Our democracy is at stake indeed. IEBC needs to take full responsibility in these primaries. IEBC is not independent yet. A lot needs to be done. Thank you all. Wakili Elias Mutuma, Wakili Njeri Maina, the candidate for UDA, woman representative in Kirinyaga, Engineer Edith Mwirigi, and Wakili Dunstan Omari for making time for us to have this conversation. And this continues up until we are at that place that it's 9th of August to have the election. My name is Sam Gituku. See you some other time. Bye for now.